You're welcome.
When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
To that.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people.
They took the babies, they dismembered them, they cut their intestines, and they took the feces out and they ate it. There's this 16-year-old girl. She had some diary entries written in code about her experiences being and impregnated by Epstein. They forced her to carry that baby to term, and they let her keep it for a few minutes. Then they came in, took the baby away, ripped it away from this child, and they did who knows what.
For years, Mel Gibson has remained one of the most controversial names in Hollywood. From blockbuster success to public scandals, career setbacks, and years of intense criticism, Gibson's relationship with the entertainment industry has been anything but simple. But now, a new wave of online speculation has brought his name back into a conversation involving another major Hollywood figure, Ellen DeGeneres. And the claims being shared online are getting more shocking by the day. According to viral posts and celebrity gossip videos, old interviews, resurfaced clips, conspiracy theories, and alleged connections are all being pieced together to create a story that has taken social media by storm. The problem? A huge amount of what is being circulated remains unverified. But that hasn't stopped people from digging through old footage and asking questions about some of the biggest names connected to the story. Because as Ellen stepped away from her long-running talk show and eventually moved away from the United States with Portia de Rossi, online speculation surrounding her only seemed to grow. Then came the resurfaced clips. Then the discussions surrounding Stephen Twitch Boss. Then old comments involving Hetchy. And eventually, Mel Gibson's name was pulled into the middle of it all. So what exactly is going on here? And why are so many people suddenly connecting events that happened years apart? Let's break it down. The first thing to understand is that Ellen DeGeneres has already spent several years at the center of public controversy. For a long time, she was known primarily as one of television's biggest personalities. Her daytime show became a massive success, and Ellen built a public image around humor, kindness, celebrity interviews, and feel-good television. But that image suffered a major blow when former employees publicly described allegations about the workplace culture surrounding her show. Those allegations led to intense media attention, public criticism, and an internal investigation by Warner Media. Ellen later addressed the controversy publicly and apologized to staff members who said they had experienced inappropriate behavior at work. Eventually, after nearly 2 decades on television, the Ellen DeGeneres show came to an end. For many viewers, that should have been the end of the story. But online, it wasn't. In fact, it became the beginning of an entirely different chapter. As Ellen's public appearances became less frequent, social media users began revisiting older moments from her career. Interviews that had once been forgotten were suddenly being reposted. Celebrity interactions were being analyzed frame by frame. And in some cases, completely separate events were being connected through speculation. One of the biggest names repeatedly brought into those discussions was Stephen Twitch Boss. Twitch became a beloved part of Ellen's show. He was a dancer, DJ, producer, and television personality who eventually became an executive producer on the program. To viewers, the relationship between Ellen and Twitch appeared close. That's why his death in December 2022 shocked so many people. Authorities determined that his death was a suicide, and there is no verified evidence publicly establishing that Ellen DeGeneres was involved in his death or that she had any connection to a crime against him. However, following his death, social media speculation exploded. People began revisiting old clips of Twitch on Ellen's show and analyzing his facial expressions, interactions, and reactions during celebrity interviews. One particular set of clips that resurfaced involved Sean Diddy Combs. In one interview, Ellen and Diddy joked about parties, after parties, and how long those events could continue. At the time, it appeared to be typical late-night style celebrity banter. But years later, especially as allegations and legal controversies involving Diddy received massive media attention, viewers began looking back at the exchange in a completely different way. Suddenly, every joke seemed suspicious to some people. Every pause was analyzed. Every reaction became a potential clue. Another clip gained attention when Diddy appeared on Ellen's show and had a playful but seemingly intense interaction with her while Twitch stood nearby. At one point, Diddy leaned close to Ellen and whispered something that viewers couldn't hear. What exactly was said? The truth is, the public doesn't know. But that didn't stop social media users from making theories about it. And once those theories started spreading, Twitch's visible reaction in the clip became a major topic of discussion. Some people claimed his expression looked shocked. Others argued that people were simply reading too much into a brief moment from a television segment. And that raises one of the biggest problems with viral celebrity conspiracy content. When people already believe there is a hidden story, almost anything can become evidence. A facial expression becomes a warning. A joke becomes a confession. A celebrity friendship becomes a secret connection. And suddenly, an old television clip from years ago is being treated as if it contains information nobody noticed at the time. But there is an even darker part of this story. Online rumors began making extremely serious allegations involving Twitch, Ellen, and other celebrities. Those claims spread rapidly across gossip channels and social media platforms, despite a lack of credible evidence supporting them. That's important to remember because the internet often moves faster than facts. Once a sensational theory appears, thousands of accounts can repeat it within hours. And eventually, people begin to forget where the original claim even came from. They simply see it repeated so many times that it starts to feel believable. But repetition is not proof. Still, Twitch wasn't the only person from Ellen's past whose name resurfaced during this wave of speculation. The story of Enhechi also returned to the spotlight. Enhechi and Ellen DeGeneres famously dated during the late 1990s, at a time when their relationship received enormous public attention. Their relationship ended, and both women eventually moved forward with their lives. But years later, old interviews featuring and discussing Ellen began circulating again. In those interviews, Ellen made deeply personal comments about her life, her experiences, and the intense pressures she said she had faced. Some social media accounts interpreted certain comments as evidence of a hidden conflict involving Ellen. Others went much further, creating theories around Ellen's later death. In August 2022, Enhechi was involved in a devastating car crash in Los Angeles. She suffered catastrophic injuries and later died. Authorities and investigations reported the circumstances surrounding the crash, but online conspiracy theories quickly emerged and attempted to connect her death to previous statements she had made about Hollywood and her personal life. There is no credible evidence publicly establishing that Ellen DeGeneres was responsible for Enhechi's death. Yet that did not stop conspiracy theories from spreading. And that's where the Ellen story took an even stranger turn. Because as people were connecting old interviews, celebrity deaths, and resurfaced television clips, another set of allegations involving Jeffrey Epstein began appearing online. For years, Epstein's network, associates, and connections have been the subject of enormous public interest. After documents related to Epstein were released and unsealed at different times, the internet went into overdrive trying to identify every celebrity name, contact, and alleged connection. But this also created a serious problem. Being mentioned in a document, knowing someone, appearing in an address book, or being discussed online does not automatically prove criminal involvement. Yet, on social media, those distinctions often disappear. And in Ellen's case, some users began circulating claims that attempted to connect her to Epstein-related conspiracy theories. These theories became increasingly bizarre. Some posts claimed celebrities were secretly involved in horrifying rituals. Others made claims about cannibalism, blood, anti-aging practices, and diseases supposedly connected to those allegations. There is no credible evidence establishing those extraordinary claims against Ellen DeGeneres. But because the allegations were so shocking, they spread. And the more they spread, the more people started looking for anything that could support the story. That's when some users began pointing to Ellen and Portia's decision to spend time living in the United Kingdom. To conspiracy-minded accounts, the move became proof that Ellen was supposedly hiding. But again, a person moving to another country or purchasing property is not evidence of criminal activity. Still, online speculation continued. Then a claim began circulating that Ellen had supposedly been diagnosed with Kuru, a rare neurological disease. Kuru is a real disease associated historically with a specific form of human tissue consumption among the 4 people of Papua New Guinea. However, viral claims about Ellen allegedly having Kuru were not supported by credible evidence. Yet because the disease itself has such a disturbing history, the rumor quickly became connected to the even more extreme conspiracy theories already circulating online. And then, right in the middle of all this, Mel Gibson's name resurfaced. For years, Gibson has been discussed as someone who supposedly knows more about Hollywood than he has publicly revealed. That idea comes partly from his controversial history and partly from comments he has made over the years about the entertainment industry. Old interviews began circulating again, including footage of Gibson discussing his early impressions of Hollywood and saying there were things about the industry he didn't understand. For some viewers, those vague comments were enough to create a much bigger theory. They began asking whether Gibson had been warning people about something all along. And that's when the conversation turned toward Sound of Freedom. The film, released in 2023, focused on the issue of child trafficking and became one of the most discussed films of the year. Mel Gibson was not the director of the movie, contrary to claims sometimes made online, but his name became connected to conversations surrounding it because of his association with anti-trafficking awareness and the wider Hollywood debate. As old footage resurfaced, some conspiracy accounts began claiming that Gibson had been trying to expose powerful people for decades. But is there actual evidence that Mel Gibson specifically exposed Ellen DeGeneres? That is where the viral narrative becomes much less clear. A great deal of the story being circulated appears to rely on speculation, interpretations of old interviews, and claims repeated through gossip videos rather than verified evidence. Still, the timing has created the perfect environment for a viral celebrity mystery. Ellen's workplace controversy damaged her public image. Twitch's tragic death led people to revisit his relationship with the show. And Hetchy's old interviews gave conspiracy channels more material to analyze. The renewed public attention surrounding Epstein encouraged people to search for celebrity connections. And Mel Gibson's controversial history made him an easy figure to position as someone supposedly fighting against Hollywood from the outside. But just when you think this entire story couldn't get any more complicated, another series of resurfaced comments added even more fuel to the fire, because the next part of this controversy involves old celebrity statements, viral tweets, claims about anti-aging, and one of the internet's most persistent and most controversial Hollywood conspiracy theories. And this is where things get even crazier. As the rumors surrounding Ellen continued spreading, social media users began expanding the story beyond Ellen herself. They started looking at other celebrities. Old tweets resurfaced. Interviews from years earlier were reposted. And comments that may originally have been intended as jokes suddenly became part of a much darker narrative. One of the celebrities repeatedly mentioned in these discussions was Chrissy Teigen. Old comments in which Teigen made provocative or dark jokes began circulating again. One resurfaced interview involved a hypothetical question about whether she would ever eat human meat if someone had consented. Her response became widely shared by conspiracy-focused accounts. Other old tweets were also reposted and interpreted in increasingly extreme ways. But context matters. A controversial joke, an offensive comment, or a bizarre hypothetical statement does not establish participation in criminal activity. Nevertheless, online investigators began connecting these statements to an old and persistent conspiracy theory involving Hollywood elites and anti-aging practices. The theory claims that powerful people secretly obtain blood or other substances from young people in an attempt to remain youthful. There is no credible evidence supporting the sweeping conspiracy narrative that Hollywood celebrities are secretly harvesting children's blood to reverse aging. But the theory has continued to spread for years. And one word appears constantly whenever the subject comes up: adrenochrome. The problem is that online discussions often mix real science with completely fictional claims. Adrenochrome is a real chemical compound. But many of the extraordinary claims made about it online are not supported by scientific evidence. Despite that, conspiracy theories have transformed the word into a supposed explanation for everything from celebrity anti-aging to secret trafficking networks. Then came the attempt to connect these theories to Epstein-related material. When Epstein documents, court records, emails, and other records became subjects of public discussion, Internet users began searching through them for explosive revelations. That process produced some legitimate reporting and important questions about Epstein's network. But it also produced enormous amounts of misinformation. A name appearing in a document does not automatically mean the person committed a crime. An email mentioning a person does not necessarily prove the person participated in illegal activity. And a document being discussed online does not mean every interpretation of that document is correct. This distinction became almost impossible to maintain once social media entered the conversation. Users began posting screenshots without context. Videos appeared claiming to have uncovered hidden proof. Anonymous accounts presented theories as breaking news. And before long, viewers were being told that some of the biggest celebrities in the world were secretly connected through a massive underground network. This is the environment in which the new Ellen allegations exploded. The story became bigger than one person. It became a theory about Hollywood itself. According to some online narratives, Hollywood is divided into two groups. On one side are the powerful insiders who allegedly protect dark secrets. On the other side are celebrities who supposedly refuse to cooperate and are punished, silenced, or blacklisted. Mel Gibson was quickly placed into the second category. His history made the theory particularly appealing. Gibson has experienced public scandal, career damage, and years of controversy. So some people asked an obvious question. Was he simply facing the consequences of his own actions and controversies? Or was there something else happening behind the scenes? Publicly available information does not support the claim that Gibson was secretly blacklisted because he was exposing Ellen DeGeneres or an Epstein-related celebrity network. But the theory continued gaining attention because it fit an already popular narrative. People love the idea of a whistleblower, especially in Hollywood. And Gibson's old comments about finding parts of the industry strange gave conspiracy channels exactly the kind of material they wanted. In one resurfaced interview, Gibson discussed arriving in Hollywood and having suspicions about things he didn't understand. To some viewers, those comments sounded like evidence that he knew something. But the comments themselves did not name Ellen, Epstein, or prove the massive allegations now being connected to them. That hasn't stopped people from drawing their own conclusions. And perhaps that's the most important part of this entire controversy. The story isn't spreading because one single piece of verified evidence suddenly appeared. It's spreading because hundreds of separate moments are being assembled into one giant theory. A workplace scandal, a tragic death, an old relationship, a fatal car crash, a celebrity interview, a whisper caught on camera, a controversial tweet, Epstein documents, a movie about trafficking, a celebrity moving overseas, an old interview with Mel Gibson. Individually, these events have different histories, different contexts, and different levels of publicly available evidence. But online, they are increasingly being presented as if they are all chapters of one hidden story. And once people accept that framing, every new piece of information becomes another possible clue. That is why celebrity conspiracy stories can become so powerful. They don't need every detail to be proven. They only need enough unanswered questions to keep people watching. And there are certainly unanswered questions surrounding several events discussed in this story. But unanswered questions are not the same thing as evidence. For example, people continue to speculate about Twitch's death because of the shock surrounding it and because he appeared successful and happy publicly. But public appearances cannot tell us everything about a person's private struggles. His death was officially ruled a suicide, and there is no verified public evidence connecting Ellen DeGeneres to causing his death. The same applies to theories involving Enhechi. Her death was tragic, and because she had previously spoken publicly about difficult experiences, some people attempted to connect those statements to the accident. But no credible evidence has established a criminal conspiracy involving Ellen in connection with Enhechi's death. And then there are the extraordinary claims involving cannibalism, kuru, adrenochrome, and secret Hollywood rituals. These are among the most viral parts of the story. They are also the parts where the available evidence is weakest. Sensational claims generate clicks. A video titled, "Celebrity Faces New Questions," might attract attention. But a video claiming a secret Hollywood ritual involving missing people will spread much faster even when the evidence behind the claim is non-existent. That's the uncomfortable reality of celebrity gossip in the age of algorithms. The more shocking the claim, the more likely people are to share it. The more people share it, the more other creators make videos about it. Then those videos begin citing one another. Eventually, the audience sees dozens of videos discussing the same allegation and assumes dozens of independent sources confirmed it. But often, they are all tracing the claim back to the same unverified post. And that's why the Mel Gibson angle is so interesting. Did Mel Gibson actually come forward with verified evidence exposing Ellen DeGeneres? Based on the material behind this viral narrative, that claim has not been established. Instead, old comments and clips are being interpreted through the lens of events that happened years later. People are essentially looking backward and asking whether Gibson was secretly talking about everything happening now. It's a compelling theory, but compelling is not the same as confirmed. And at this point, that distinction matters more than ever. Because the internet is currently in an era where a short clip can be removed from its original context, uploaded with dramatic music, and transformed into proof of something completely different. A celebrity looking uncomfortable can become evidence of fear. A private conversation can become a secret threat. A joke can become a confession. A move to another country can become an escape plan. And an old interview can suddenly become a prediction. So where does that leave Ellen? The truth is that her reputation has already been damaged by real, publicly reported controversies surrounding her show's workplace culture. That part of the story exists independently of the much more extreme theories now circulating online. But the fact that someone has been involved in one genuine controversy does not prove every new allegation made against them. That is a distinction many viral videos fail to make. Ellen can be criticized for documented controversies while still not being guilty of every sensational accusation posted on the internet. Both things can be true at the same time, and the same standard should apply to every celebrity involved. If new credible evidence emerges, it should be examined carefully. If law enforcement releases verified information, that information deserves attention. If a person makes a specific allegation and provides evidence, journalists and investigators can examine it. But until then, theories should remain theories. Still, one question remains. Why are people so determined to connect Mel Gibson to this entire situation? Maybe it's because Hollywood has a long history of secrecy, image management, and powerful public relations machines. Maybe it's because Epstein's crimes demonstrated that influential people can operate around wealthy and powerful networks for years. Or maybe it's because audiences no longer trust the carefully polished version of celebrity culture they are shown. When trust disappears, speculation moves in to fill the gap. And that is exactly what happened here. Ellen's fall from her daytime television image created suspicion. Twitch's death created shock. And Enhechi's tragic accident created more questions online. The Epstein scandal created a massive search for powerful connections. And Mel Gibson's controversial history provided the perfect figure for a supposed Hollywood insider who knows too much narrative. Put all those elements together, and you get one of the most explosive celebrity conspiracy stories currently circulating online. But whether the story is explosive does not make it true. And perhaps the biggest mystery isn't what Mel Gibson supposedly knows about Ellen DeGeneres. Maybe the bigger question is why the internet has become so quick to turn speculation into certainty. Because once a rumor goes viral, the damage can be impossible to reverse. Even if there is no evidence. Even if the original source is anonymous. Even if the entire theory began with someone interpreting an old facial expression. By then, millions of people may already believe it. So what do you think? Are people genuinely uncovering connections that were ignored for years? Or are unrelated events being forced together to create the ultimate Hollywood conspiracy story? Do you think resurfaced celebrity interviews can reveal something that was missed at the time? And when it comes to Mel Gibson, do you believe his old comments about Hollywood are being misunderstood, or is there a reason so many people are suddenly looking back at them? Let us know what you think in the comments. But one thing is certain. This story shows just how quickly old clips, real controversies, personal tragedies, and unverified internet theories can collide and turn into a narrative that takes on a life of its own. And if more verified information emerges about any of these claims, this story could take another completely different turn.